Welcome to episode 119 of Rebirth Revolution. My name is Melissa Olson. Before we get back into the New Year's resolutions for 2022, let me explain something. When I offer these ideas, I'm hoping that you will take any little crumbs of what resonates for you and let the rest go. That is a great way to expedite your growth. Not everything is for you, and not everything is for you right now. Some tidbits you pick up may be things that you already have incorporated and moved past in your growth, and some may be further down the line. The objective is to sharpen your ears and your intuition to figure out what is yours right now. The ability to quickly take input in and mentally sort through it, sifting out what could help you from what is not currently applicable, will make your movement to higher levels happen at a much faster pace. This requires dropping the very human desire to stop and complain about something that is not specifically for you. I see this all the time on social media. People love to complain about content. It's kind of amazing. Instead of sifting and moving on, people want to stop and complain that the information given, whether it's in a book, a movie, or the like, doesn't completely match up with their exact situation or their current level of understanding. That is a complete waste of time. If it isn't for you, that isn't some sort of offense. That doesn't automatically mean that the content is wrong. It's just wrong for you right in this moment. It is for someone else. Every single idea offered is for someone. Everything has the potential to move people forward, but very few things that you can find out there will be the clues you need for your forward movement. You need to sift through a lot to find the gems that are for you. The rest are for other people. It makes no sense to be mad about anything that is for someone else. The act of complaining about content makes it seem like you think the world you live in is supposed to be designed for you and you alone. Of course, we know that isn't true. There must be information out there for everyone at every single level of spiritual awareness. Why? Because every single person can only hear and absorb information that is at or near their current level of awareness. Here's one way of looking at it. Imagine collecting all the textbooks for the grades of kindergarten through a master's degree. From this massive pile of books, you pull out a book and open it up. You will have one of three responses to the book you pulled out. You will either know the material and have a remembrance of having learned it, then put it back because you no longer need it, or you will look at the material and realize that it makes no sense to you at all. That just means you aren't ready for that level of information, and you can't magically leapfrog from where you are now to the level of the material you are viewing. To get there, you have to absorb all the knowledge that exists between where you are now and what that book is offering. The third and least likely response is that you will open the book and realize that it is exactly what you need in this very moment to answer a nagging question or to provide some sort of enlightenment that is the very next thing you need to move forward. This is how your spiritual journey works. You spend your life sorting through everything out there, looking for the thing you need right now. It's an adventure that you have embarked upon that will take you from understanding little about yourself and life to a place where you find the peace that comes from it all making sense. It sounds overwhelming, but relax. You get to do this for as many lifetimes as it takes. Relax and know that the clues that will get you there are being offered in all different forms at all different times. So you really can't miss them unless you are bound and determined to shut everything out. If you think of it as a scavenger hunt, it will be much more fun. Find peace in knowing that you are already an eternal soul who is on this expedition, and that you will be given everything you need to reach your destination, no matter how long it takes. This all leads us to resolution number 3 for 2022. Be open to all the twists and turns that happen in your life. Part of what the culture promotes as the path to being a serious adult is the practice of mapping out your entire life. What is your plan? We continue this ridiculous practice by asking teenagers what they want to do for the rest of their lives, what profession they want to embrace from the moment they leave college until they either retire or die. We ask this of teenagers, those people whose brains are not yet fully attached, the people with zero life work experience, the people who have the least self-awareness. It's an insane notion that puts way too much pressure on young people and then instills in them a lifetime of self-recrimination if they made the wrong choice. And it may also give them a mountain of debt that will color every financial decision they can make for decades to come. We grown-ups should know better than to put any children in this situation, but this is how our culture operates. The culture also tells young people that they have to scramble to find a person who will perfectly align with them until one of them dies. And we would prefer that they do this before they could possibly have any awareness of what that decision will ultimately mean. They are somehow supposed to know if this person is capable of being a loving, engaged partner, a good parent, and a good provider, let alone someone who you could stand to look at over the breakfast table before your first cup of coffee every day for the rest of your life. You are supposed to have an assurance that you will both want the same exact things out of life for the entire length of your life, and that you will both grow at approximately the same rate. If you really think about it, this is an impossible task. Then you are pushed to procreate no matter what. Everyone thinks you should have children, and there is no real scrutiny about your ability to do that successfully. You get to just have children. Adopting a rescue pet comes with much more scrutiny than bringing your own children into this world. If some people had to live up to the standards required to get an abandoned dog that they do to have children, there would be far fewer children in this world. But this is a choice that you are supposed to make without any guidelines or support. It's somehow more questionable to choose not to have children than it is to have children without giving it any thought. Even the Pope is mad that young people are getting pets instead of having children. But of course, none of this addresses the issues that make parenthood so difficult in our culture at this time. There are so many huge choices that the culture tells you have to make, and so much judgment about how these choices turn out for you. As someone who has been here for a pretty long time, I still don't have any confidence that I could make decisions of that magnitude and feel assured that they would turn out as expected. Actually, I have been here long enough to realize that nothing turns out as expected. That's just not how life works. And when the choices young people make don't turn out as they are supposed to, people feel terrible about themselves for failing, when the decisions we are pushing them to make are insane to begin with. Life is in the twists and turns. Life is not about getting on a path that you chose when you were unaware of the magnitude of it all and then sticking it out no matter what. Because one of the big lies in all of these cultural mandates is the notion that making the correct choices will insulate you from life's twists and turns. Nothing can insulate you from how life works. Life is all about the twists and turns. Making what are considered to be all the right choices will not keep you out of the reach of the chaos. In fact, some of the choices introduce the chaos, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Embracing the fact that life is chaos will keep you from wondering why everything is upside down, even though you are doing everything right. You live in a school with almost 8 billion students. Each and every one of them possesses free will. Just contemplate that for a moment. You also live on a planet that has natural laws and cycles with both predictable and unpredictable reactions to the ways in which we inhabit it. We have economies, systems, and societal structures that are not as rock solid as we may have convinced ourselves that they were. We have almost 8 billion people who have brains that we are just now beginning to understand. We are just scratching the surface of understanding how brains work and why we do what we do. In the United States, it is estimated that there are over 400 million guns, with over 98% of those in the hands of civilians. And our understanding of mental health issues, while increasing, is not where it needs to be to keep any of us safe. It's all very wild. It's all very unpredictable. The pandemic has surely brought that to light. Everyone who thought they were doing all the right things had to deal with all the issues the pandemic brought with it, just like everyone else. No one is outside of the reach of the chaos, except maybe the billionaires who are all trying to figure out how to use their money to get the heck out of here. Twists and turns and chaos are the only things you can count on, so make them your friends. Release the notion that you can control how life goes. You can't. You only have so much control, and then the world and its inhabitants will throw some chaos into the mix. As the parent of adult children, it feels like one of my main jobs is to function in the capacity of their rear view mirror. They, like every other person on the planet, have experienced the disappointments that come with life not always rolling out the red carpet for them. There were jobs they didn't get, the living arrangements that didn't come through, all the normal stuff. It is critical that they accept that not every job is for them. Not every person is someone they should be in a relationship with, and so on. This world must accommodate everyone. So not getting something is not a reflection on them. It is just that whatever it is that they wished for happens to be for someone else. They don't always get what they want, but somehow something else appears, and it always seems to be something that is ultimately better. My job as their mother is to connect all of those dots in the hope that they will learn to surf the waves and let themselves be taken places they hadn't expected, and to be accompanied by people who are a surprise to them. It is an act of surrender that runs contrary to all the plotting and planning that we tend to do. When they are particularly happy with everything that is going on for them, I feel it is my job to point out each unfulfilled wish they had it turned out as they wanted, would have made their current situation impossible. The dots that all connected to make today's scenario wonderful would have been disconnected and sent in another direction if everything had gone as they had once hoped. There are some magical forces in the world that put just the right people in front of you, that make the formerly impossible possible, and shape our lives in ways that we could never fully visualize. We don't have all the control. There are twists and turns that we can't anticipate. There is chaos that we couldn't possibly have seen coming. And there are magnificent outcomes that we wouldn't have ever dreamed up for ourselves. It is our human desire to map out our steps and try to anticipate how each step will get us closer to what our end goal happens to be, but it never goes exactly as we anticipate. To anticipate is to expect an outcome. It is to assume that you can foresee what will be on the path before you. But you really don't have that power. Obviously, we can't go through life without any sort of goals or any blueprint about how we could possibly achieve those goals. We need to have an idea of where we would like to be, what we would like to be doing, and we need to use our highest thinking to set our intentions. But we can't fool ourselves into thinking that we, and we alone, control how we will get where we want to go, or when we will arrive there. We can't fool ourselves into thinking that any path we choose will not be full of lessons that are meant to grow us. Those lessons may be in a form that we experience as wonderful revelations, or they may seem like agonizing roadblocks. We don't control what the lessons are, but we do control how we perceive them. Some of the life events that we label as being good include new jobs, new relationships, more money and status, more power, etc. Some of those events we label as good have the power to be our complete undoing. And that really stings when something seemingly good happens and it results in outcomes that we label as bad. Then there are the life events that we label as bad, like job loss, death, divorce, financial loss, loss of status and power. Some of those events can create entirely new paths that bring us to places of greater fulfillment than we experienced before. True happiness, not happiness that is based on external factors and unrealistic expectations of how life works. The misery we create for ourselves is in labeling our lessons. We label the twists and turns as either good or bad, but they are neither and both. Out of all good things come bad, and out of all bad things come good. It is never an either or. All of the twists and turns are simply ingredients. We can make of them whatever we want. We can either whip up something delicious and unexpected, or we can settle for a stew of heartache, regrets, and victimhood because we are still attached to our own vision of how it should have gone. We can either up our game through unleashing our creativity and tenacity, or we can fold like a cheap card table. If we can, in 2022, focus more on what we can make of the twists and turns, we will not be in that space where we wait to see what the twists and turns will make of us. It's our move. Thanks for returning for another week of Rebirth Revolution. Next week, we'll kick around some more resolutions that may or may not contain information that is applicable to your situation. I make no promises. You can always let me know what you think by emailing me at rebirthrev@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Rebirth Revolution can be found on all the podcast apps, the music apps, and full episodes can be found on YouTube and on our Facebook page. Please subscribe, download, and share whenever possible. Until next week, think about all the twists and turns you have already weathered. Think about the strategies you used to prevail. Get vaccinated, wear an N95 mask, and order your free test kits. And congratulate yourself for how far you have come. Remember, you are loved exactly as much as every other person on the planet, not 1 ounce more or 1 ounce less. Stay strong and safe and warm.